Hey everyone, welcome to today's session from the South Wales Apple RTC. Today we are looking at developing creative writing with animation. My name's Matt. Hopefully you've seen some of our other sessions from earlier this week. If you haven't, please do follow us on at South Wales RTC or follow me MAT6453 on Twitter. So let's get going. Let's have a look at how we can think about developing our creative writing with a little bit of animation. So the first thing I'm going to introduce to you is Keynote. So Keynote, people usually think of as a presentation tool, but it really is so much more than that. It really does allow for a lot of creative activities that you can do. And utilizing some of the transition effects, we can be really creative with how we can share and enhance our work. This is an example that I've done in the past. This is something I've used with schools to help their children understand what the water cycle looks like, and all of this is done in Keynote using shapes and just thinking about this magic move transition. So there you go. It really is as simple as having shapes on your screen move from one place to the next. This is an example. I shared this with my son a few years ago now. So this was his attempt at doing a little bit of magic move. I literally showed him the basics that I'm going to show you in a second, and this was something he came up with. And this is where I started to think about how this really does inspire a little bit of creative writing that goes along with it. So he's got a bit of a story here.
I'm walking through the woods. What's that can there for? What should I do with it? Oops, I think I made it fall over. Ah, it's leaking! Ah, my hat! My head, it's green! Ah! Ah, I'm green! I'm green! What's happening to me? I'll clean this up. Why would he be so scared? Let's pick this up.
So there we go. It's really simple. Now, if you didn't realize, that is the origin of Incredible Hulk. That was the story he was trying to tell. He actually did the creation first and then did the voiceover afterwards. Same as I'm doing at the moment, I'm doing a voiceover in Keynote, so I can record my voice over the top of the animation when I play it. You could have written the story first, you could write the story afterwards based on the animation, but the idea is that there's a bit of a story being told there. This is another example inspired by the Olympics, the Winter Olympics a few years ago.
Our orange competitor for our speed skating is playing for Canada. Our blue one is playing for the USA, and our pink one is playing for Great Britain.
So there we go, really simple, just using the shapes that are in Keynote. Now, what happened with this and where this inspiration came from, a couple of friends of mine, fellow ADEs, Martin Coots and John Smith, started up this thing called a Magic Move Challenge, and please do explore hashtag Magic Move Challenge and see some of the other ideas that people have come up with. And the idea was that they would set out a challenge saying, create a bad dad joke or the start of a movie, and the only thing you could use was Keynote, the shapes, and the magic move transition that we'll look at in a second. On the back of that then, obviously, I shared this with Max. I shared what Max had done with those two guys. And then this kind of started this kind of student movement on Twitter where, I shared what Max had done with Martin. Martin's son then had a go as well and created his own version using the same technique. Then Max decided he wanted to give Toby some feedback. Now, bear in mind, these children have never met and they live in different parts of the UK. So Max gave Toby some feedback. Then Toby was working with his sister, sorry, about things. Then John saw this, and this kind of snowballed how they started to think about, you know, what could they do, and they all had a go, sharing ideas. And this is global, right? John's over in America, so you know, these children haven't met. I've only met John a couple of times. You can see how this kind of stream of ideas happened. John's boy James then creates a lovely animation of Optimus Prime, and then Max gives him some feedback. And you know, in a world that we're living in at the moment where children might feel isolated, this was a really good example of a global collaboration of doing a bit of storytelling, and it kind of led to all sorts of things where Martin started a story, or I should say Martin, it was Toby started the story, and then it passed on to Max. Max did the middle part of the story, and then it ended up with James, and James did the end of the story. So really, really nice way of doing all of that. So let's have a look at how we make that work then. Okay, let's see what that can actually look like. So I'm in Keynote now, so I'm going to start a new slide. I'm going to go to a blank slide. And one thing to kind of point out here, the black element is what you're going to see. So if we go back to that idea of, you know, the water cycle, things were off the screen and then they moved on the screen, etc. It's all just hiding things off stage. So the grey area is off stage, black area is on stage. I'm just going to show you a really, really basic way that I introduced this if you were in the session with me. So I'm going to tap on the plus. I can choose shapes here. And there's a whole catalogue library full of shapes. I'm going to move through to transport, and I'm just going to choose a couple of vehicles. I'm going to place them off stage along the bottom. And this is important, and we'll talk about this in a second. Now at the moment I've got two blue vehicles. That's a bit boring. I'm going to tap on one, tap on the paintbrush. I'm just going to change the colour. You can, you know, go to extremes of design and all of this here. I'm just going to show the real basics. So there's my two vehicles on the screen. I'm going to go back in, and I want them to stop at a set of traffic lights. So I'm going to have to build a set of traffic lights. So I'm going to choose the square, turn it into a rectangle, place it over here on the road. And then the top of the traffic light, I'm going to tap on plus. Now actually, if I tap on the search bar and type in traffic, you'll see that there are lots of shapes already created, so I don't need to create the whole traffic light, but I can just use the top bit. Fab. And then I'm going to zoom in a little bit here because it's a little bit easier to work. Tap on the plus again, close that, choose a circle. Go to the paintbrush and make it green because my traffic light is going to be on green, so the vehicles know that they can move. And again, being quite crude with this, and you can like place objects behind, etc. But I just want to show the basics of how it works. Now, if I play that now, you'll see my vehicles are not on the screen. This is how I hid the clouds and the water and all of those sorts of things in the water cycle one. So how do I make them appear and move? Simply tap on that slide over on the left, tap transition, tap add transition, and tap magic move. Now it's not going to change to anything at the moment because I haven't actually got anything for it to move to. So I'm going to tap on the X, and it's going to ask me to duplicate my slide. Now this is a key thing. The objects on this slide will move to where you place them on the next slide. So if I duplicate the slide, I've now got two slides over here on the left. And if I move those vehicles along, if they're driving down the road, they will move to that new position. Now, the traffic lights are going to change as well. So I'm going to tap on that green circle. I'm going to zoom in again just to help me move it. And place that up here and change it to a red colour, because red is why they stop. Go back to slide number 1, tap on play, tap the screen, and there we go. As simple as that. Those vehicles have moved across the screen and they're now in that new position. And that's how you add in your story. You know, it could be anything. Someone going for a walk, birds flying in the background, all sorts of different things that you can build in, and you can be really creative. The key thing is that it's where it was on slide 1 moves to where it is on slide 2. So you have to build those things on the first slide, and if they need to be on the next slide, you just hide them off the screen. And I'm going to make one slight tweak to this. I'm just going to move my traffic lights to the front so that the red is behind it, and just to prove a point, you need to do that on both, otherwise that shape changes what it is. And I'm going to play it again, and you'll see something really, really nice here. It's a clever touch that happens in Keynote, is it's actually going to blur between the green to the red, and you won't see it go over the top of the traffic light. It's going to merge behind. And you'll see it kind of goes through that orange colour as well. So again, little tricks that you can do in order to create lovely animations. So have a go, see what you can come up with, be really, really creative with that. Okay, next thing to look at then is stop motion. Now, stop motion is a really, really simple way to do some animation and bring things to life. There are lots of different apps that you can use to do this. Stop motion is the app that I would use quite a lot, but I'm going to show you a really, really simple way that you can do this with the technology you've got in the house without even having to download any apps, not worrying about Wi-Fi, all of those things. We're just going to use the camera on the device. So I'm going to jump out of here for a second and then jump into my camera. So I'm in the camera at the moment. I've just set up my space. I've borrowed one of Max's little Harry Potter characters, not sure who it is. I'm just going to place him on the space in front of the camera. Now the way this works, quite simply, is I tap on the white take the picture button and I move my character slightly across the screen. And keep doing that over and over until you've got them in the place that you want them, and animate them, you know, turn them around, move their arms, etc. You can be really creative. The key thing is just make sure your hand is out of the screen when you take the photo, and then you're left with this. If I simply slide across the bottom, there's my stop motion. Now again, perfect thing to do here is because I've got this in screen record, I can just record my screen, I can change the speed, I can, you know, move them around, it could be disco dancing, you can do all sorts of crazy things with it. And then once that's recorded, it's in my camera roll, I can edit that, I can crop out the bits down the bottom that I don't want to see, etc., and start to build up lots of things. So I'm not going to go any deeper than that. I'm just going to leave you with that. Stop motion, a really, really simple way to do it, just by taking photos and then dragging your finger along the bar at the bottom just to animate anything you've created. Lego is a fantastic thing for this if you're working at home, because children will probably have access to this, but any of their toys they can bring to life in this way. Play-Doh, drawing on paper, all sorts of things. Have a go, see how you get on, and do you know what? I would love to see some of the things that people are creating. So, you know, please do tweet if you're using any of these things. Tweet at Apple RTC so we can get it around, and also tweet it to us at South Wales RTC. Would absolutely love to see some of the things that you create. And as ever, like we say, face-to-face is a lot better. We do this session in the RTC itself, and you get hands-on and you can actually start to develop ideas with other people. So please do keep following us on South Wales RTC, and we'd love to see some of you join us in some of our future events. Thank you very much.